Up next is the tip of the week. This is a feature where we show you a trick or two on how to use some certain feature on your phone or some other feature in a given app. And now for this week's episode, here's your tip of the week.
And we conclude this week's episode with our tip of the week. And Warren shows us a new feature in Android 15, and this allows you to archive apps on your phone instead of using the existing and still there, obviously, uninstall option.
Hi, Warren here for Blind Android Users Podcast, and for episode 202, Tip of the Week. This is demonstrating one of the new features found in Android 15, and today I'm talking about the archiving of apps that you are not using. In other words, if there's an app that you're not using and would rather archive than uninstall, this is what this tip is. By default, you could set this to do so automatically either from the Play Store itself or from the Apps section, but this one is to show you the manual process of how to archive an app. I am on my home screen now, and I'll move to one of my apps here and see how we can manually archive that given app.
Guide along.
I have something here called Guide Along, and here's how we go about archiving it manually. So I will double tap and hold. In other words, we need to long press on that app, or if you want, you could swipe down to where it says shortcuts. So for example, if I swipe down, that's using actions.
Shortcuts.
You could tap that and tap on app info. Or you could long press on it and tap on app info. So let's go ahead and tap since we're on shortcuts.
Shortcuts. App info.
Here we are on app info. So whether you went through the actions route or you simply long press on it, you'll be tapping on shortcuts and that pops up the app info. Now we tap on app info.
Home. App info. Navigate up button.
Upon tapping on app info, now we're on the app info of the app. And the first thing we want to do is, since we're trying to archive it, near the top, just on the left side below where it says navigate to top, if you move down a little bit, you're going to find archive.
Archive button.
And to the right of that,
Uninstall button.
is uninstall. But since we're interested in archiving it, I'm going to move back to archive.
Archive button. Archive guide along.
It says archived guide along. Now, if I go back to my home screen,
Recent apps. Home. Guide along is archived. Tap to download and restore.
there we are. We're being told that guide along has been archived. And if we want to use it again, all that needs to happen is to tap on it to re-download and restore the app. So we got both ways. You could tap on it to activate that process of restoring, or if you prefer using actions, then you swipe down till you get to where it says activate and tap on it to activate. So for example, if I swipe down,
Move item.
swipe down,
Add to home screen.
swipe down again,
Activate.
and if I tap here,
Pending 3 period. Pending.
and we heard it say pending.
Downloading.
In other
Installing.
words, it's
80%.
downloading and installing 80%.
Guide
and
along.
so it's been installed, and now it no longer says archived.
Guide along.
We hear guide along, and we don't hear it saying it has been archived. And that's a quick way on how to manually archive an app in Android 15. Thanks for listening.
So the one question I think I've got listening to that, I noticed that when you restored the app, it did go and download it and installed it. So when do you think you might use archive instead of uninstall, given that it does actually uninstall the app anyway?
Well, so technically, it kind of kept like maybe very little resource for the app so that it can, go back and get it. I think the one I'm kind of thinking about and wondering about, for example, let's say I sideloaded an app, for example, and I decide to archive it. Would it, when I go back to restore, would it get that back for me? And I'm thinking something tells me it might, because it may go back to that source from which I sideloaded it from. But then I'm kind of thinking, so what happened if I had deleted that APK? But I'm thinking it probably would upload it to the Play Store. I don't know. Does someone, you want to try that, John?
Have you tried it with the sideloaded app? I would
I,
imagine it would
I
let
don't
you.
have a side-loaded app. That's what I was wondering what
Yeah,
it would do. I'm kind of curious as to what would happen.
I would imagine it doesn't
Yeah.
work. It doesn't even give you the option. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's because I'm trying to understand the point of archiving. What it does is it keeps the app data on your phone, but uninstalls the app to give you a little bit more space, right? So, like, if you were to restore it, you wouldn't have to like sign into the app and fix all your settings the way you want and all that. Is that correct? Is that why you would archive something?
Yeah, so the whole thing is about, space, the whole focus, so you're someone that takes a lot of videos and all of that. And then, we got apps are only getting bigger and bigger. So if there's an app that you're not using, for example, of course, and it's an app that you use only once in a while, but you don't want it, totally uninstall the app so that when you want to, you have to go back to the Play Store to get it. You just archive it, which is basically uninstalls it and just leaves a little icon or whatever that it lets you know it's there. So whenever you want to use it, there's a time comes for you needing to use it, you go back to it. So that's the whole idea. That's the focus, is to free that space that you don't want to be hogtied for the time being.
And how beneficial it is kind of depends on how the app works. Because, for example, something like Pocket Casts, where you've downloaded episodes and you've saved it into the app data. I would imagine if you archive that, you're not going to save yourself a whole lot of space because it's only removing the actual app itself, which doesn't take up much space compared to all the podcasts you've downloaded to your phone. So it really depends how beneficial it's going to be, how the actual app works and where it saves its data.
And I imagine there'll be some apps that won't allow themselves to be re-authenticated like that. Like if you archive a banking app, I bet that won't let you back in.
Well, I'll try it with my banking app and see what happens.
Yeah,
I don't see a reason why it wouldn't let you back in.
I bet it won't. Like they'll never restore settings, will they, from phone transfers and backups?
My guess is, I would bet that it would let you back in. I'm interested to see what it does.
I'm positive it'll let you back in. You know what? I'm gonna try mine and I'll post it on our Telegram.
I think you should. I bet it doesn't do it. I bet it doesn't do it.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I have to try it.
How much would you wager, Ed?
If it doesn't let, if I'm wrong, I won't physically pull your cheeks next Saturday.
Okay.
That's the offer. I won't pull your cheeks next Saturday.
No. Why would you pull his cheeks?
I pull everyone's cheeks.
No. If you are wrong, then
yeah, I'm saying I won't. I'm saying I won't pull his cheeks.
Oh, you won't? Okay.
No. So next
basically,
Saturday,
he's saying he bets nothing. Basically.
Yeah, exactly, Mundo. See, so he's not really confident.
We call it a sportsman's bet. You can have a wager without a stake.
No. So that's
the
cowardice.
stake is being right or being wrong. Sometimes that's enough.
Exactly.
and John gets to sleep in comfort knowing he won't have his cheeks pulled next Saturday. If I'm right, there is this possibility I might just turn up at his house.
Oh boy.
And he can worry about that.
I want to try, John, maybe you could sideload an app. How about we have a homework? You sideload an app, and I'm going to do my banking app.
All right.
I have a question. Well, I haven't read like about the app archiving as I should. I just was so lazy to go to Gemini and ask, how smart is Gemini? And it said that it doesn't require internet connection, neither for like saving the archive nor for doing any sort of restoration. So he said that it works on the device. It just compresses the app, so it takes less space. And when you want to restore it, you just restore it without the need of anything related to the online stuff. So is that correct?
Well,
So that's your homework. Turn on airplane mode. Oh, you don't have a Pixel though.
I don't have it. I'm a Samsung user.
So TalkBack is misleading if it is, because it said downloading and installing. Like TalkBack might be wrong. I don't know.
Although, let's be honest, it's more likely that Gemini is wrong.
Well, I'm giving Gemini the benefit of the doubt.
I think I'm with John here. It may be Gemini is giving you a wrong response. Of course, Gemini is still learning, right? Ever learning. So
yeah, but it then told me that it doesn't give medical advice.
And that the sky is red.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's always the sky is always red. It could be whatever color you might expect when you are using Gemini, because it like confuses things in a way that nobody on earth could think about them in this way.
He was telling me something about I don't give medical whatever, and I said this has nothing to do with medicine, and he said you're right.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing.
You know what though? I had to. This is kind of unrelated, but I was talking to ChatGPT today, and it also does weird things. Like it asked me how my day was and what was I doing this weekend, and I said nothing much, just recording a podcast. And then it said, "Oh, what's your podcast about?" And then it said something like, "Do you and your son do anything else together?" And I said, "Why are you? How do you know I have a son?" And it said, "You just said you were recording a podcast with your son." And I went back and looked at the conversation, like had it read what it said that I said. And I said nothing about a son. I just said, I'm recording a podcast today. And that's all it had in the conversation. So I'm like, man, where do you come up with this stuff?
It is lying to you. It is, John,
gaslighted you,
frankly, it is lying to you. These things, this is why sometimes, AI, I don't even want to go down this rabbit hole, but frankly, they're all lying to us that we don't collect these things. I don't believe any of them. He knows you have a kid.
Yeah,
trying to lie to you.
That's not lying. That's straight out gaslighting. You said you were recording a podcast with your son. No, I literally didn't.
It actually had me second guessing myself. Like,
yeah.
What
if you want more of
say?
that, there is now a GPT app for Windows if anyone wants it. I've heard rumors that you need to be on the paid tier. It's accessible, but I haven't tried it. And there's a global command for it of alt space. It's on the store if you do want that app, but you may or may not need to be a paid member of ChatGPT.
Well, you should be a paid member for now. This is something that I'm sure about because I was reading about it like maybe yesterday.
Well, excellent. You do need to be a paid member then. Good.
So I have my phone. Should I put it in an airplane mode and then, archive an app and then trying to restore it and see what happens?
Yep.
Yeah. That way we don't have to do homework.
Airplane mode. Switch.
I got airplane mode on now, guys. Can you hear my phone?
We can, yeah.
5.
Okay. So let's see.
Skip pages. Notepad.
Yeah, let's try it with Notepad, right?
Shortcuts. App info. Home. App info. Archive button. Archived hashtag Notepad settings.
Okay, so I'm going to go back.
Recent apps. Audio MP3 editor. Notepad is archived. Tap to download and restore. Notepad. Notepad is archived. Tap to download and restore. Home on top, you're offline on bottom. To restore this app, check your internet connection and try again. You're offline.
See, so My first
Recent apps.
thought was correct. You have to have access because it has to install it from the Play Store. So Gemini told you a lie.
Expected,
shocked.
actually.